Hey everyone, welcome to Creepy InQueeries,
a podcast dedicated to all things creepy, spoopy, and true crimey.
With your hosts, Miss
and Kevin,
your friendly neighborhood queers.
Let's dive Wonderful. Hi there.
Still
How are
you?
ya?
For you? I'm good. I wiggled.
Oh, you wiggled. Oh, you got your pigtails on and everything.
Yeah, I got my little, God, I feel like I've spent my entire life cutting my hair and then growing it out so it's long enough to braid, and then cutting my hair and then growing it out so it's long enough to braid. And it's long
Isn't
enough to
that
braid.
just what life is anyway?
So life is just cutting your hair and waiting for it to grow.
Yes, because that's just what
fair.
hair cutting is, right?
It's really, that is the exact meaning of hair cutting, and its sole purpose. So, I mean, if television is anything to go by, hair length is the only reasonable, demonstrable way to show the passage of time. So,
how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. It's a beautiful day out. My week has been, I think so. I don't know.
I don't go outside. You know that.
Yeah. My week's been good. I've been working at a new job, and that has been really exciting.
Yay!
It's been working out. Thank you.
Yeah, congratulations. That's so exciting.
Thanks so much. And wedding planning stuff has also been going well.
Yeah.
And we're in the end stages, hopefully. So it's been going well. Nice. How has your week been?
My week was good. I mean, work was good. I've been really, now that the bar and everything is over, I've been really focusing on my mental health.
Ooh.
And I've been really focusing on supposed to be's and should be's and would be's, could be's, all of the nonsense that isn't actually real. And that's been really interesting. But overall, it's been good.
That's good. You know? What have you been? I'm glad that you're going through that kind of journey, because it sounds like a lot of that was like put on hold for a while.
I mean, the last from November through the end of February was just survival.
Yeah.
Was just, extensive coping. Yeah, just extensive coping and surviving. Now we're getting back into deeper stuff, and it's really nice. I really, really like understanding things about myself. So
that's really good. And I'm glad that you were.
Yeah.
I love this journey for you.
Yeah, I've been on it for a really long time.
Oh,
but it's still nice.
Oh, yeah.
It's still a fun ride. Anyway, take care of your mental health, people. It's not a failure or a weakness. Just learn about who you are and how to deal with yourself.
We talked about this a little over the weekend. Did you start any movies lately that you were watching?
Oh, so listen, do you know, I watch TV with my headphones in, right?
Yeah.
I have a Roku TV, which allows for like private listening, which means you're basically hooking up your phone to the TV as your remote. And then you can listen to, which like is so good for my brain.
That's really cool.
Yeah. It's so good for me specifically. I can actually pay attention. I don't worry about, I can't hear like other distractions. So it's really nice. But my point is that on Friday I got a new phone, and on Saturday I went to watch the first Scream again. per our agreement. And my phone would not hook up to my TV. And I had to listen like a regular ass person.
Whoa.
And it was really difficult for me. Like shocking, like embarrassingly difficult. Like I was just focused on like, oh, can the neighbors hear the sound? Am I too loud? And then I'm like, why am I worried about this? They're literally as loud as monsters. So why am I going to worry about my TV? And then I'm just like, oh wait, I haven't watched a single thing that's happened. So I rewound it and started from the beginning twice, even though I've seen it. It's been a decade. And then I was just, holy shit, I was taken aback by 1996's version of Neve Campbell. I was taken aback in a way that I was not prepared for. The romantic. Okay, well, not where you're.
I see. No, I was saying butterflies in your stomach. That's what I
basically. Then yeah. Anyway, long story short, I'm about halfway through, but this morning I figured out how to. I figured it out, and I got the headphones to work. So honestly, if I am not too brain dead from our double sesh today, I'll probably be finishing that. There are some things about the first one that I just didn't really pick up on before, like how truly obnoxious every boy in this movie is. I can't handle it. It's so aggressive. They're like, and I know that they're sort of playing like a caricature of a trope. I can appreciate that. But God, I just want to rip their heads off.
Whoa, hot takes over here. Hot takes.
Like her best friend's boyfriend, what's his face? He's in a lot of stuff from this
Matt
time.
Lillard?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's such a dick. I'm so distracted by how much of a dick he is and how much I just, if I knew him, I would punch him in his face every time he opened his mouth. Anyway. No, it's good. It's really interesting watching it. Again, I seem to only watch these movies once a decade. So once a decade, it's a revolutionary viewing.
It is. It's like
good. I'm highly entertained, which I wasn't expecting. I was just expecting it to watch it to get caught up to watch the first one. It's very entertaining. I was just too distracted.
Yes. So for the listeners that don't know, we're just rewatching all the Screams. And when the new Scream came out, Miss was in studying for the bar mode, so she wasn't able to watch it. I've seen it. I know.
Yeah, we want to get caught up so we can have a movie 5 viewing together and have a peeky about it. Yeah.
Yes.
Which will be very fun. So I'm going to work on that, for the next week or two, getting those movies done. It feels weird to have time to watch movies. So I'm just like, I don't have any idea when I'm going to have time to watch 4 fucking movies. Okay. But I actually have plenty. Time.
Yeah. So. It's called a Tuesday, Mama.
Yeah. No,
now that you
weird.
don't have to study.
I don't understand what to do with evenings still during the week. I just kind of stand and stare. And then I'm like, well, maybe I'll just go lay down again.
That's what I love about you. All your sad stories.
But I'm doing good overall. I think it's going
good.
It's going well, meaning my life. So
yes, I am so happy for you. And I'm
just in a never-ending crisis on what to wear to your wedding, but that's a personal issue that I will continue to work on.
You power through it, baby.
I will. I'll work it out.
Channel Moira, and you'll figure it out. But no black and white.
I was gonna say you told me colorful, so don't let me channel Moira because that's what I really want to do.
How do you feel about your stories today? Because you're going to be true crime
about it. I am going to be true crime. I am excited. I have a feeling you do know about this.
Okay.
Because I knew about this from a documentary, but I didn't know that that the story being portrayed was not what happened.
Okay.
By a long shot. So that'll be exciting. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Do you want to get into it?
I surely do. I surely do.
Do you? Are you sure? Do we have any business? We don't have any business.
Do we have any business? Okay, Mr. Business. Mr. Jim Business.
All right. On June 4th, 2004, Marvin Heemeyer went on a rampage in Granby, Colorado, when he took a heavily modified bulldozer for a ride and destroyed 13 buildings. At the time, the story went that about 10 years prior, Heemeyer had purchased land in Granby to set up a muffler repair shop. However, in 2001, the town approved a cement factory to be built on land adjacent to his. The cement factory threatened his access to his building by blocking the building from the main road. Heemeyer petitioned the town multiple times to stop the factory from being built, or alternatively have his own road built from the main road to his shop, both of which were soundly rejected. To add insult to injury, in 2003, Heemeyer's land was cut off from the sewer system by accident during construction for the cement factory. Over time, Heemeyer grew more angry and more resentful as the factory went into business, and the city demanded $2,500 in fines for not being properly connected to the sewer system and for unsightly cars littered across his property. During this time, Heemeyer decided to build the damn road himself and purchased a Komatsu D355A bulldozer. Once he had the dozer, something changed, though, because in 2003, he deeded his house to a friend and moved into his shop. Then he sold both of the shops on the property and the building that currently housed his bulldozer. But he kept 185 square miles that had a building on it, and he moved himself and the bulldozer into what he called the shed in December of 2003. Mm-hmm. For the next 6 months, Marvin Heemeyer worked tirelessly to armor the bulldozer and made his plan to exact his revenge on the city of Granby. Defenders of Heemeyer say that he was a good man pushed too far by a tyrannical government. The government was forcing an easement on his land that he did not consent to, and they cut off the road to his business. They cut off his access to the sewer, and then they refused to hook it back up without him paying for it. Some even call him a hero because they believe he went out of his way to prevent casualties during his rampage, and there were no injuries, and he should be applauded for that. The problem is, aside from Heemeyer beefing up a bulldozer and destroying 13 buildings, almost none of what I just said is true. So let's take it from the top.
Wait, huh? What? Huh? What?
So, do you know her?
I know the story.
I know you do. I can see it in your face. You're a little excited.
I saw the Netflix documentary that came out.
That's when I first heard about it too. Yeah, years ago.
Yeah. That shit was wild. That blew my mind. But that's basically the story that I understood was what I just said. Was that the story that you understood? I believe so. Because that kind of, I was like, wait, are you just telling the whole story right now in like 2 minutes?
And I'm done. I told you it was going to be a quick one.
Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. We have new episodes
every Wednesday. We'll see you next week. Thanks. But no, so that is the story that we know of the Killdozer.
Killdozer, yes.
So we really don't know much about Marv, as he was referred to, before he moved to Granby. He was very secretive and kept personal information close to the chest. He was born on October 28th, 1951 in South Dakota, and he lived in Grand Lake, Colorado, about 16 miles away from Granby until he was about 40 years old. So this story doesn't even start until he's 40. A friend of his, John Baldry, said that he was a very likable person. His brother Ken stated that he would bend over backwards for anyone. Those last 3 sentences were all of the personal information that I could find on him on the entire internet. So really when I say let's take it from the beginning, I mean let's take it from 1992.
Ooh, okay. All right, that's fine.
There's literally, I think there was like one website mentioned that he was in the Air Force, but only one website mentioned it. I think that is true, that he would have some kind of military background. He was never married. He was not engaged. He didn't have any family nearby. The only family that was ever mentioned was this brother Ken, and the only time he was mentioned was for that quote. And again, I'm just doing searches on the internet, so I'm sure the information is available. So the majority of this information contradicting this story is from a book by Patrick Brower called The Killdozer, which I think came out in 2017-ish. But yeah, so when you the majority of the information will be coming from that.
And side note, did you see the documentary on Netflix?
I did. I saw it when it came out.
You did? Okay.
However, 2 years ago or whatever, that was my first interaction with the Killdozer.
Mine too. And when I brought it up with Ben, he had already heard about it before when it happened.
Oh, he already knew about it.
Yeah, he had.
Nice.
He knew about what the thing called, like the Killdozer. Yeah, he knew that.
Yeah.
I don't know how or when.
I think. Well, I mean, to be fair, 2004. This was a news story. And it's kind of like legendary. Like, without knowing any facts, the story that goes around is like a guy beefed up a bulldozer and drove it through town. So it's pretty cool. Like, if you just think about it like that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, in 1992, Heemeyer purchased 2 acres of land from the Resolution Trust Corporation, the federal agency organized to handle the assets of failed savings and loans associations. And he bought the land for $42,000 and intended... Yeah, right. And intended to build a muffler shop because he was a welder, and that was what he did. Mm-hmm. This is where the cement factory business comes in. Before the town was presented with the plans to authorize a factory to be built on the land, Heemeyer had entered into an agreement with the plant to sell his 2 acres for $250,000 in agreement that he would move and take his shop elsewhere. So he just bought this little bit of land for $42,000 and he's getting an offer of $250,000. Sorry, $250,000. So $250,000, So he was like, hell yeah, let's do it. But for reasons unknown, he soon backed out of the deal and demanded $375,000 for the 2 acres. But soon, this was still not enough, and he upped the demand again. Now he wanted $1 million and for the cement factory to build a building on his new property.
Okay.
At this point, the factory was sick of dealing with him. He was not an easy person to deal with. He was becoming completely unreasonable. And so at this point, the factory gave up dealing with Heemeyer altogether and decided to exercise its zoning rights and get the approvals they needed from the city, which they did. And that's where really this legend starts, right? The legend is that the city took advantage of him, took advantage of their rights, and just fucked him royally, right?
Yeah.
And that starts here. This is the starting point of our legend, is this deal with the cement factory. At that point, he says, I was always willing to be reasonable until I had to be unreasonable. Sometimes reasonable men must do unreasonable things. And let's remember who the unreasonable person is.
Yes, that's important to know.
There are ultimately 2 issues that Heemeyer and his supporters say pushed him over the edge. 1, being forced to pay to hook up the sewer system when the reason the sewer system wasn't connected in the first place was the fault of the cement plant. And 2 was access from the main road to the muffler shop was being cut off. So there was no way to access his business. But let's tackle the sewer system first. The truth is, Marvin Heemeyer's sewage lines were not cut off during the construction of the concrete plant because he never had sewer lines put in to begin with. In 1992, after he purchased the land, he discovered that the land was not hooked up to the sewer line. And in order to build his business or a home, both of which he was intending to do, he legally had to be hooked up to the sewer lines, which is absolutely normal and absolutely required, like everywhere. After he purchased the land, he had a meeting with the Granby Sanitation District about hooking up the land to the sewer mains, right? The town explained the process and the costs to Heemeyer, which admittedly is not a cheap thing to do. But they also explained that to connect the mains, he would need to cross property lines with the property adjacent that was owned by the cement factory. Again, this is incredibly common. Most cities, a building must be connected to the sewer line. It is the responsibility of the property owner to pay to connect the lines. And most people really just don't think about this because when you're buying property, whether it's a house or a business, if the building is already there, you don't need to worry about this. The lines are already put in.
Right.
Or if you have new construction, again, you're not really going to think about it because who's ever doing the construction, that's their job. They're getting the permits. They're putting the lines in and you're paying for it after the fact. So very common. And very commonly, those lines also cross property lines. In that instance, an easement is created. An easement is an interest in land of another. So in this case, it would have been that Heemeyer had an interest in the land of the cement factory in so much that he had to put the lines underground in their land. And it was required. So this is called a maintenance easement, meaning that he has an interest in their property, not an ownership interest, not even a possessory interest. It's just for the pipes to be allowed to sit in the ground. Basically, an easement gives you the right to enter the property of someone else for a reason. Now, it can be like if your plot of land doesn't connect to the main road, but connects to your neighbor's driveway, and your neighbor's driveway is the only way to access the land, you have an easement, meaning you are legally allowed to use that driveway to access the main road because there is no road to access mainly. And that's, this is all not simple. And this is just a brief overview of what an easement is. And the easement in this case, all he needed was to put in the lines underground to get him hooked up. When Heemeyer learned that it would be very expensive for him to connect to the sewer, he stormed out of the sanitation district board meeting and never made a move towards hooking up the sewer again. The town and the sanitation board never tried to stop him from hooking up to the sewer mains, nor did they stop him from acquiring the maintenance easement. This was in 1992. The bulldozer didn't happen until 2004. So keep that in mind as well.
And so it's been a hot second since I've seen the Netflix documentary, but I think he recorded himself as saying like that they were in cahoots with. Yeah.
So that's a theory that he and his supporters believe that and that the town was in cahoots, the city was in cahoots with the cement factory because they wanted the factory to come in for jobs and revenue, and that Marvin Heemeyer was a pain in the ass and had been from day one. So the theory is that the cement factory and the city worked together basically to boot him out because they didn't want him there anymore. That is all completely unproven. But what is known is that not everyone wanted that factory to come. Most people didn't want the factory to come because of noise and dust and everything that it would bring. And in the beginning, when he was trying to stop the approval for the zoning, he had tons of people in town on his side. Tons and tons of people who did not want this building to be here. And it's proven that even at the time, the town understood that this is not a moneymaker. It's not going to be profits for the town. It might make some money, but not in any way that would make any difference to this town. If anything, they'll probably just cut even, and maybe some people will have work closer to home now. But the idea that it was the city's intent was to push him out for financial reasons is untrue. However, who's to say that there was no behind the scenes backdoor bullshit trying to get Marvin Heemeyer out of there? He was a pain in the ass and only became more of a pain in the ass. Again, I think that is a lot of work for government employees.
Yeah.
And if anybody has worked in the government, and I only have for 6 short months, nobody's going out of their way to do anything, even if it is to boot out some guy that they think is a pain in the ass. So I have a hard time thinking that a group of people got together and said, hey, let's get this guy out of here. But again, it's not impossible and crazier things have happened. It just doesn't make sense, especially because so many things, it just all could have been avoided really easily. So Heemeyer, like I said, he was never prevented from accessing the land and he was never cut off. What happened was he purchased land for cheap without checking about sewer lines and learned about the cost after the purchase was made, and he didn't want to pay for it. So he sued the city and he sued his neighbors who owned the plant, who had tried to pay Marv to leave. Originally, they said that he could cross the property line to hook up the sewer without a problem. Like, it's fine. We understand it's a necessity. We're good neighbors, which would have saved him a lot of money. It still would have cost money to put the pipes in, but if you have their consent, at least you don't have to pay them, because without their consent, you have to pay them and pay to have to put the lines in. But his behavior became more and more aggressive. And at that point, they were like, listen, we will let you do this if you drop these lawsuits. Like, if you drop these lawsuits, we will not charge you to put in this line. And he did not drop the lawsuits. But don't worry, it was all it all worked out for Marv. But
it sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah, the courts actually dismissed his lawsuits, both of them. From that point, he didn't bring up the sewer line or the easement with neighbors ever again. And again, this was all in the early 90s. Well, maybe now mid-90s, but still, this was not 2004 when this happened.
Cray in terms of not like holding on to some incorrect information and just talk about blowing it out of proportion.
I don't even think it's incorrect information at this point. I think it's personal viewpoints, right? Why should I have to pay to hook up to a city sewer line? Why am I required to do that? Why should I pay you to let me do something that I have to do anyway? Right? So it's the tyrannical overreaching of the government. And the idea is that it's not just this, right? It's not just this. It's over time, he's gotten fines for having, cars in the yard, for not hooking up to the system, for anything. He fought everything that went in on this town, except the things he was really excited for, like the time he tried to bring a casino to town and everyone was against it. And he was so gung-ho. He was so about it. And when, like, the people who just opposed him ended up on kill lists later. This was not about, he could not handle things not going the way that he assumed that they would go, or things that did not line up strictly with his personally held beliefs. He didn't check the law. And when he was already in a situation he couldn't get out of, he decided that it was the law's fault, not his, for not checking. And again, I understand frustration. This is not something that would be common knowledge. This is not something but if you're buying property, this is why you don't do it on your own.
Right. That's why you have to have
this is one of the big reasons, right? Because a real estate agent, even at the most lowest basic level, they're going to know that. They're going to say, if you build on this property, this will be blah, 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 blah. But the problem is not that he didn't know. It's that he didn't like it.
Yeah,
he didn't like that he had to pay. Because people will say, well, if he would have done that, it wouldn't have mattered because he would have gone out of business. He didn't have the money. That's not true. He had profits the entire time he was running the muffler shop, the entire time he was doing anything. And he had other businesses too. It wasn't about money.
It was like a conspiratorial pride that he was like trying to maintain.
Yes, basically. Because remember, he was willing to sell his land originally for $250,000. And he went to the city to hook up his property to the sewer lines. So it wasn't like he didn't know he had to do it. It wasn't like he was caught off guard by the fact that it was necessary. It was money. He didn't want to spend money. And it makes me sort of irritated when like you hear these people and I'm just like, sure, your theory sounds great if anything was true. So while it may have been Heemeyer's sincerely held belief that he was wronged by Granby or the factory, it was just incorrect. He didn't like following the rules. He didn't like being told what to do. So he bit off his nose to spite his face. He was not forced to, and he had the money to connect the lines. Moreover, instead, he decided what was better was to not have running water or sewage processing. Marv dumped his sewage into a concrete mixing tank on the muffler's shop property, which had no septic tank. This was known and tolerated by the town for over 12 years before any action was taken against Marv for the sewer lines. It's so gross.
It's so fucking gross.
So gross. One time, friends of Marv even noted that he often bragged about how he was getting away scot-free with the obvious violation.
Yeah.
And I was like, who's getting away scot-free? You're handling your own raw sewage, okay? And you're dumping it in a concrete mixing tank where it just sits. It's not a septic tank. It's not breaking down. It's shit in a barrel.
It's shit in a
You're putting shit in a barrel. And you're okay with this because you don't want to bend to the government and get a sewer line. But yeah. So now on to number 2 regarding the road being cut off to his shop, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And remember, a lot of people sincerely believe that he purchased the bulldozer to make his own road to begin with. Surprise. His access was never cut off, and he did not buy that bulldozer to build a road or anything else. The rumor was started online after this happened on the news by someone who really wanted Heemeyer to be their martyr. There was a road directly to his shop that was never altered in any way.
Okay.
In fact, the guy who wrote the book, who worked for the Granby newspaper in town, who went to every single town meeting, including every meeting when Heemeyer was present, and then reported on it in the local town newspaper. He said when the story hit, he drove the road multiple times. He went from the main road and took a turn onto the road that went directly to the muffler shop. There was no changing of the road. He did not buy a bulldozer to make his own road.
Are we going to know why he bought the bulldozer?
Now for the bulldozer itself.
Oh.
Yeah, no, he bought the bulldozer for revenge. He bought it because he was mad and he wanted to exact his revenge on the people who had wronged him. Heemeyer installed monitors inside the protected cabin of the bulldozer for visibility. He wired the cameras and placed them around the armored bulldozer's exterior. Then he enclosed those cameras inside 3 inches of bullet-resistant plastic to ensure the police couldn't shoot them out. And inside the bulletproof cases, he added air jets to blow off the dust that could get onto the camera lenses.
Wow.
He called his bulldozer the MK tank. And it was, I don't know why, but it was fitted with makeshift armor plating covering the cabin, engine, and parts of the tracks. The armor consisted of 2.5-inch steel plates with concrete in the middle and bonded plexiglass, which gave the same benefits as composite armor. This guy was not building a road.
Not at all. Welders can't build roads.
A welder could very easily build a road, I'm sure. This is a skilled man, right? I'm sure he at least has an idea of how it's known or knows someone who does.
Yeah.
He did it to bulldoze buildings. Okay? So all of the armor, it proved very effective against small guns and armor-piercing ammunition and grenades. 3 external explosions and more than 200 rounds of ammunition were fired at the bulldozer, and it had no effect. None. It barely put a dent in it. Inside the cab. Like imagine if he put his skills into like something useful. Like he could have built some really cool shit.
He could have really built some real shit.
He basically built a tank. He built a tank.
And I remember watching that footage where it's just like, whatever,
when he's welding,
I'm just getting shot.
Yeah. Right. When he's driving through, I watched some of that this morning. And I was just like, it's fucking. And then for like a second, you're like, wouldn't it be cool though? Just for like one second. So inside the cabin, he installed fans and air conditioning system because he figured he was going out in summer and it's going to be hot. He also put up 3 gun ports, and he had 3 high-powered weapons that went out of the gut ports. The craziest part, you've asked me just now, the armored shell had to be lowered down onto the vehicle using a custom crane that he built. So once he was inside, there was no way to get back out. Quote, "It's interesting to observe that I was never caught. This was a part-time project over a 1.5-year time period," end quote. It's from Heemeyer. Several men who had visited the shed late the previous year had not noticed the modified bulldozer, especially with the 2,000-pound lift fully exposed. Somehow, he said, quote, "somehow their vision was clouded," end quote.
Yeah, wasn't he just like covering it?
He was not doing anything to conceal what he was doing. It was just inside this giant shed.
Yeah,
and people came over.
Yeah, they actually walked in that space, right?
They were in his space, and they were like, "Yo, man, what's up?" And he's just like, "I'm just living my best life in my shed in Colorado with no heat or air conditioning or windows, and maybe there were windows, but I don't think there were." So, on June 4th, 2004, Heemeyer drove his armed bulldozer first through his own former business, through the muffler shop. Second, he went to the concrete plant where he and neighbor Cody Dochev, who is really Heemeyer's main villain, when he went over there, Cody had seen what he was doing, had seen now for the first time this giant crazy machine coming at him, and he tried to stop Heemeyer with a scraper, which is another monster machine, but Cody was unsuccessful. But what he did do is he called the police, and then the 911 dispatchers were able to reverse, I don't know what it was, but they were able to get calls out to the businesses and everywhere that this had just happened, that he had destroyed this, because he destroyed the concrete factory, the building, right. And then he was going towards town, which is part of the reason why there were no casualties. He went to the town hall, and like I said before, the office of the local newspaper that editorialized against him, the home of the former mayor, where the mayor's widow was still living, and there was other places besides that, and then the last place hit was the hardware store, who was owned by another man that was named in another lawsuit against him.
And were they on the kill list?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So remember, his supporters think that he's a great guy because he purposefully went out of his way not to harm anybody.
So gracious of him.
While driving through town, he shot high-powered weapons at power transformers and propane tanks for the purpose of exploding them. Yep. It was the only purpose. And like the sheriff said, if any shot had been successful, anyone within 1.5 mile radius of the explosion would have been in serious danger. There would have been huge casualties. That is what he was trying to do. Why was he shooting a power transformer? Why would you do that? The only reason would be to explode it. Right? Am I crazy? Is there another reason to do that?
No, there is no other reason.
Okay, cool. Just checking in.
Yeah.
Sometimes you want to check in on your own crazy, just to be sure. It just blows my mind that they're just like, look, he didn't want to hurt anybody. He just didn't. He wanted to hurt everyone, and he was just really bad at it.
Yeah, he missed.
Was just really bad. He had a fucking tank and so many guns, and he didn't shoot. The attack lasted for 2 hours and 7 minutes, damaging 13 buildings. It knocked out natural gas service to the town and destroyed part of the utility service center. And despite great damage to the property, no one was killed except for Heemeyer. When he hit the last building, the hardware store, he accidentally drove into its foundation and got stuck. He tried for a while to get out, but he knew that it was the end of the road. And he knew that he also had no intention of surviving this anyway.
Right.
Because he was welded in.
Mm-hmm.
He was welded on the inside. And so he shot himself. He took his own life. Mm-hmm. And then it took about 12 hours to get him out because he welded himself inside as just like a last fuck you.
A last goddamn fuck you.
Like the last fuck you was just like, I dare you to get me out of here.
This is evil pettiness.
It is. And it's so funny. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's certainly not funny that he thought he had to do this and that he
No, it's not funny because didn't he like destroy the library and like town hall?
Oh yeah, town hall, the library. And in the library, when the attack was happening, there was a children's class in there.
Yep.
I don't know what it was for, but there was like a children's gathering. And I can't abide. I won't abide by this bullshit that he went out of his way not to hurt people. He drove into a library where there was a children's event. He either didn't know or did not care to know.
Right.
And that's it. Those are the only options. And either way, he didn't care what happened. And what is the aftermath? The aftermath is the police ultimately found many writings and recordings by him. They were found in the shed and on his person when they finally got him out. His own words have disproven the myth about him.
Yeah.
He had a kill list. And all of his documents and videos together amounted to a manifesto. The tapes were available online, but I didn't feel like listening to them.
No, I mean, the Netflix documentary is basically built around them.
Right, exactly. So please, honestly, look at it. It's an entertaining documentary. Yeah. But you can see them all sort of laid out there. Marvin Heemeyer was not a hero. He wasn't even wronged. He decided he didn't like the rules and decided he wasn't going to follow them and decided he couldn't handle the consequences that came from his own actions. He created the issues that he railed against. And his rampage ultimately was an elaborate suicide. And I don't mean to say that flippantly. I truly believe that he decided to kill himself and destroy the town before he bought the bulldozer. And that was the purpose of buying the bulldozer.
I mean,
unfortunately, unfortunately, our story doesn't end in 2004.
Oh.
Heemeyer today has influenced a number of right-wing extremists, including the Boogaloo Boys.
Oh.
In 2020, Stephen Carrillo, 32, was arrested and charged with 19 felonies, including murder after an ambush of law enforcement officers in Santa Cruz, California. He was also charged in the fatal shooting of a federal officer in Oakland, California. Before he was arrested, he scrawled the words boog. Is it boog? Boogaloo? Boogaloo?
Yeah, boogaloo.
I don't know why that's a hard word. Boogaloo. Anyway, he put boog and the phrase, I became unreasonable, in blood on the hood of a car. I became unreasonable has become a meme in Boogaloo social media, and it refers to the statement made by Heemeyer when he said that he was reasonable until he was forced to become unreasonable. Yikes. And that's why it says, I became unreasonable. The Boogaloo Boys also owe their sick Hawaiian shirt uniforms to Heemeyer, too.
Oh, God.
Because the day of the rampage, he was wearing a Hawaiian shirt.
Wow.
Liv Heemeyer.
But not really.
Hashtag sarcasm. And that's the story of the Killdozer.
That part really brought it on home for me just then. I thought, like, I had no idea about...
I had no idea about that. No.
That's
and honestly,
up.
that probably, that would have happened after the documentary anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Well, damn, this...
Right?
I thought I knew a lot about that.
Me too. And ever since I saw the documentary, I've just been endlessly obsessed with it. And honestly, I think the saddest part is that he didn't do anything except cause damage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Even
made
if
a mess through a temper tantrum.
So, yeah,
to the nth degree, toxic male fragility.
No, and that's a really good point. But even if it's true, even if he had sewer lines and they were cut off and he was forced to reconnect them, even if the road to his shop was gone and there was no road to access his shop and his business would fail and all of that, he sold his own business. He sold it willingly to a trash company 6 months before he started working full-time on the dozer. So dozer. December of 2003, he sold his own business for a profit.
A nice profit.
And then built the dozer with that profit. People think his business was stolen from him. They say it was taken over by the government
because of it. Yeah.
That it financially bankrupted him.
Mm-hmm.
But even if that was all true, what he didn't solve anything, right? I understand people get mad about government overreach and government telling you what you can do with your own property
or bodies
and all that. Mm-hmm. I get it. I do. I can understand the viewpoint. But what does this do to solve that? Number one, killing yourself do to solve that. But number two, making a tank and destroying other people's property
and public properties like roads
and public property.
Yeah.
But so the public property, I understand because you're railing against the government, right? It's public. Who cares? But number one, so a library is public property, but who are you harming? You're not harming the government. You're harming, number one, the children who were there, but more importantly, the people who use the library.
Correct.
And you're not doing anything to solve your own problems. But, I mean, in his defense, the media took his side of the story, and that is truly what people believe to this day. After watching documentaries, after reading this book, people still believe that he is a martyr and that he is a hero.
I can't get around that.
Me neither. But yeah, I've been fascinated with the story since I heard about it. And then, I think, it just popped into my head a month ago or something. And I was like, I'm going to do this one.
Nice. I liked it. Thank you. That was wild because, like I said, I thought I knew a lot about it, but I didn't.
Yeah, I only knew what the media told me.
Media.
Kevin, do you have a story for me?
I sure do. I have a spooky story. And last time I did
me.
Is that kind of podcast? All right. So the last time I did a spoopy story was in episode 15, and I talked about the night marches of Hawaii.
Correct. Our friends in Hawaii.
Yes. And so today I thought, hey, let's find a story in a complete opposite state of Hawaii because I know that would make Miss feel more contented, So here we are. We're talking about Alaska today.
Oh, my homeland.
Yes.
Or what should be my homeland.
We're in Alaska, baby.
Oh, God, no sun, freezing weather, less people. It's a goddamn dream.
Oh, God. And yeah, so we're here in Alaska and we have some...
Hey.
There are some really, really good stories that we can tell in future episodes, by the way. Shit goes down in Alaska.
Oh, it sure does. But...
Well, are you familiar with any Alaskan lore?
Not lore. I'm aware of Alaskan murders and serial killers.
Oh, do you know any like Alaskan cryptids?
I mean, Bigfoot.
Bigfoot?
But I guess that's not Alaskan specific. It's just
not
colder,
specific.
mountainy. No, I don't.
I mean, you're
I don't
about to, because that's what I'll be talking about.
I mean, yes. Please tell me about Alaskan cryptids.
Well, so what I'm talking about today is we are in and around Thomas Bay, Alaska. And,
okay.
And this is a story told for generations by the Tlingit people, and they've inhabited the coast of the Pacific Northwest for upwards of 10,000 years. They found evidence.
And how do you say the what people?
Tlingit, Tlingit.
Tlingit. Okay.
Tlingit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
And correct me if anyone's listening if I'm not saying it correct, because I think I am. The name Tlingit means people of the tides. And just fun fact, they're historically matrilineal. So children are born into the mother's bloodline.
Okay. So opposite of what we're used to, basically.
Yeah, a lot. Yep. And they're a hunter-gatherer indigenous population. And like I said, they've been around for thousands of years in this area. So they've known it well. Yeah. And being around that amount of time, there's bound to be some kind of interesting lore and stories that get passed down. So this is definitely one of them.
Okay.
So we're in Thomas Bay, and that is a bay of water that is located in southeast Alaska along the Pacific Northwest coast. Thomas Bay has a nickname that's not connected to the story at all, but I just found interesting. It's known as the Bay of Death.
Oh, God.
And it got that name because in 1750, a massive landslide decimated a Tlingit village, and it wiped out like the entire population. And I think I read somewhere like 500 people were just wiped out. So ever since then, it's had that dubious nickname. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm looking at a map, and we're just like I don't know. I'm looking at a map, but we're south of Juneau.
Correct. We are southeast.
Okay, we're like right below Juneau. It's like knowing where I am on the map, all right?
I know. And I don't know, confession, don't know Alaska territory that much. Sorry.
No, it is as far away from us as you could possibly get.
Yes. So today I'm going to be telling you about the fabled creatures known as the Kushtaka. Kushtaka, a.k.a. Otter Man.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
I'm in.
This is a gay podcast, but it's not that kind of Otter Man.
I was going to say, does he have like a beautifully scaped beard and chest situation?
One would hope that's what they saw. So, like I said, we're going to be talking about the creatures known as Kushtaka, and they are said to be 8 feet tall and are a humanoid otter hybrid. So they're like half human, half otter. The Kushtaka are said to have massive claws, and they can walk and run on 2 feet. And from the pictures I've seen, they've mostly drawn them as having like an otter head, really. But it's a very menacing looking photo because they have big claws, like talons.
I'm gonna look them up. How do you spell it?
Kushtaka.
Oh, what?
Yeah. And the story originates with the Tlingit people. And they have passed stories down generation to generation about how to be feared of the Kushtaka. They believe that they are shapeshifters, and that allows them to take on shapes of humans. A lot of times humans that person knows well intimately, like a family member, they can imitate, or they can even imitate or turn into different types of otters. The lore of the Kushtaka actually has a lot. There's so many different versions of it. I don't know which one is the definitive version, because you can hear stories about how they're just full on menacing, ominous creatures that are out for blood. Mm-hmm. You could find that they are kind of creatures of the landscape, and they have a helpful kind of nature to them so they can help humans that are, dying of fraud or help them out. And other times they are just like really nice and they'll like leave gifts or something. So I don't know. It's really spans the gamut of types.
Well, listen, it sounds like they're just really complicated beings like the rest of us, and we should maybe cut them some slack.
We could, and that could be all of them. They could be all of them. Why are we trying to put them into a Kushtaka box?
Why are we?
I don't know.
It's because what we're taught,
I'm over
and we need a lot of unlearning. And this
right
is
here
this
and
is
now.
Where we should start. Yeah,
right here and now, I'm here to declare that a Kushtaka can be anything it wants to be and everything.
Yeah, it can be rude and give you a present.
Yeah.
I have family members who are rude and give me presents. And I love them
If you are hungry and you're a Kushtaka, then sure, lure those kinds of humans to the river waters by imitating a sound of like a woman screaming or a baby crying. If that's what you want to shred them apart like that, do it.
If that's what you need to survive.
What you need.
Joy is so hard to come by. Chase your joy.
And if you want to create more Kushtaka, then you can do that as well. You can suck out that human soul.
Suck it out.
Suck it right out. Nice. And that will forever doom them for having a life not being able to be reincarnated back to human. So
the people believe in reincarnation, and if you get taken by the Kushtaka, then you can't be reincarnated.
As a human.
Well, no wonder it's scary.
Yeah. Because they are shape-shifting soul suckers that don't mess about.
When you put it that way.
That imitate.
Yeah. And the shapeshifter is a very scary cryptid.
Oh,
because it's anything. It could look and sound like anything. It could be your mom or it could be your cat, and it's not. Yep. So don't trust your mom and don't trust your cat.
No. If you ever see your mom saying, "Come closer to the water," don't do that. Don't listen to your mother.
Mother, please stop luring me to death.
Yes.
Mother?
I'll decide if I want to walk over there.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Like, stories have really been all over the place. Like, I've heard of stories where Kushtakas were saving those lost people from death by freezing. But like the way that they saved them was basically turning them into a Kushtaka, because Kushtakas can survive the cold. So like, great, you didn't die, but like,
tell me the problem.
Yeah, you're like, I helped you live.
They're like, yeah, but I could have died and come back. Oh, that's the point. I could have died and come back as a human.
Yeah, you son of a bitch. I maybe could have come back as a human.
That's the problem. So now I'm eternally stuck as an otter man.
Otter man. Yeah, like, thanks but no thanks.
Yeah. I don't think that you did me a favor.
No.
I think you fucked me.
In the long run,
eternity.
I think I got the Kushtaka end of the stick here. Yeah, and I wonder how long they live and if they are able to be killed. I didn't read about that, but let us hope, because Kushtakas don't seem like...
You know what? We don't know. So, yeah, we don't know.
So I've heard that they have an aversion to dogs, so there's a lot of sled dogs in Alaska. Maybe that helps protect.
Yeah.
Maybe that's something. I don't know. And so I've also read, this is probably just like a little story that Tlingit mothers would tell their kids to keep them away from walking close to the water. Like, that also makes sense too. That tracks.
That's probably exactly what it is. Because do you remember the things our mothers told us not to do because of the repercussions?
Yeah.
Like, so I don't know. Now I'm trying to think of all the lies my mother told me.
Parenting is hard. You got to use every tool in your toolbox to keep your kid safe. And if that means saying don't open that door because there's a monster behind it, goddamn right, I'm going to try that.
Absolutely. I'll do anything to keep my children safe. I'm holding one right now.
And if that means mentally scarring them so they have non-visible wounds for life.
Last them a lifetime.
Yeah.
That
so
last
be it.
Lifetimes. Yeah.
Well, no, yeah. So Kushtaka are part of Tlingit lore, which I found fascinating. But like I said, Alaska's crazy. There's a whole Alaskan triangle, which I read about when I was researching.
Oh?
Yeah. It's just
a la Bermuda Triangle?
A la Bermuda Triangle, yeah. Like the state is so huge, so desolate.
Yeah.
So many people go missing.
I believe it because like even like and listen, my real experience with Alaska is like reality shows I used to watch with my dad in Alaska, like living and all I know is that the weather is completely unpredictable. It can change literally within 5 minutes and it happens all the time and people die all the time.
All the time.
People want adventure. They want to be in the middle of nowhere. The problem with the middle of nowhere is that there's nothing there to help you. And I just like, as someone who can't walk more than like 3.5 feet without hurting myself, it's unimaginable.
Truly.
Just like going for like a hike by my house is unimaginable. So I can't even comprehend.
Not one bit. I like genuinely. Yeah, you won't see my ass out there going hiking in Alaska. More power to you.
Is that the only reason?
That's.
Is that it?
That's it. That's it.
That's ooh, that's creepy.
Well, and you saw the photos, right? Like, so what do you first kind of see? I think it's
number one, his head's far too small for his body. His body is jacked. I mean,
and I think his hands are huge.
Oh yeah, they're huge. He's got huge hands, massive feet. I mean, he couldn't be more ripped. No below the waist pictures, which I'm a little. I mean, I guess we don't need it, but it's just like basically like a really. Like, imagine like a super jacked Bigfoot, but he's more groomed with an otter's head.
Yes, yeah, and shorter hair too, right? You would say?
That's what I mean. Like, definitely shorter hair and very well groomed. I mean, he's got clippers on the right setting, and he doesn't ever change it.
Right. Yep. On the right. Yeah.
It is perfectly manicured.
Man.
But no, I mean, he's terrifying. Like it looks like he's super tall. It looks like he could literally rip you apart with his bare hands.
Or otter hands. I'm just kidding.
Terrifying. I mean, if you told me that was real when I was a kid, I would have absolutely believed you.
Well, good thing your ass ain't never going to be in Alaska. So this one...
who knows? Future Miss might be in Alaska.
Bionic Miss that has like
she's already
suit.
Bionic.
True.
She's already Bionic. No, I can vacation. I'm not going to the woods of Alaska. I'd be going to Alaska City, like Juneau or Anchorage. I'm not going to TV's Alaska.
I read in I forgot that Juneau is, besides Honolulu, is the only other non-road accessible capital in the United States. So you can only get to Juneau via plane or boat.
Oh, Juneau's an island. I didn't realize.
It's not really. It's actually on the coast, but it is so surrounded by jaggediness. There's no way to get
I was looking at the map.
So
it's surrounded by...
It's a de facto
islands.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Isn't it?
Yeah. Did we know that there was a movie?
Called what?
The Kushtaka, in search of Alaska's other Bigfoot?
Wow.
Hold on. Some call it a myth. Some call it a hoax. You're going to discover how real it could get by Dennis Waller.
Wow. How did I miss that?
I don't know, but I really want to watch it. It's a documentary, not a document.
A document. It is a Word document. It is a PDF.
But yeah, I think he's terrifying.
Yay. Well, hey, we are again, episode 17 now.
We did it. Yeah. And I wanted to give an update. One of the stories I talked about in episode 15, when I sort of went on my little, not rant, but my little sad news story. I will say as of Friday, the 11th, a Texas court put a temporary injunction on in Texas on the case in the instance where trans affirming care was being treated as child abuse. So that's really good news. Hopefully it doesn't stay temporary. Yes. And even more than that, hopefully we can get a law banning that kind of shit.
Yeah, that'd be great.
But it's good news for now, but don't worry. New laws are still being
They're
offered
already in
every
the
single
pipeline.
day.
Yep.
States everywhere. It's not just the South. It's not just Texas. So it's good news for sure, but still not great things happening.
Yeah.
Just be aware of it. And if you can do anything about it,
yes, absolutely.
We're not here to tell you what to do, but awareness is always the first step.
I agree, my darling. Well, I had a great episode today. Thank you for your story. I loved it
too.
Okay.
Well, until next time.
So actually, wait. So Miss, where can they find us?
Well, Kevin, they can find us everywhere at Creepy Inquiries Pod. You can go creepyinquiriespod@gmail.com if you want to send us a little cute note. You can rate, review, and subscribe wherever you are listening. And please do. We love and appreciate. And the more we get, the more visibility we get, and the more our little show grows.
Yeah.
And then again for social media, just at Creepy Inquiries Pod. Have any thoughts or concerns or things that you want us to cover?
Yeah, I already have stories that I'm working on that others have suggested. So it's happening.
Perfect. Yeah. So yeah, we appreciate everyone listening. Thank you so much for tuning in. And we can't wait until next time.
Can't wait till next time. So what we say now? Wait, that was stupid. I'm not going to say that.
Now what do we say? We always say.
Now what do we say?
I'm not a child.
Good.